Hello chess fans! Today I'm going to analyze another over-the-board game I played. So this is against a familiar foe, and as of late this opponent has a slightly plus score against me, so I was hoping to even things up in this game, and they'd actually beaten me just the prior week to this. So my opponent decided to go for e4, and in our previous game we had some sort of French defense where my opponent went for knight c3, e2, but this game I decided to go for something different. I decided to go for d6. I wanted to play for a little bit more of an imbalanced position and try to get some more chances to create something. My opponent went for d4 and I went for knight f6, and here my opponent went for knight c3. And so in the tournament previously here, I played the move g6 against a lot of lower rated players, and to sort of circumvent any prep my opponent might have done, I decided to play this move e5 here, which is the philidor defense, and it's something I've actually never played over the board, not even in rapid over the board games, just never even played it. And online, honestly, I haven't even played this much either. But I decided, okay, I might as well give it a shot because I don't think my opponent will be as ready for this because, okay, it's something that they definitely could not have prepared for. And here my opponent decided to go for knight f3. So they can also go for this move d takes, but here I think this line after bishop c4, king e8, this line is known to be pretty equal for black. Here, black is actually scoring better in the database, mainly because I think, not because black is better by any means, but mainly just because the players who go for this as white are generally aiming for a draw, and when you aim for a draw, then you're more likely to lose the game. So I think that this position generally offers good winning chances for black. Notice one thing to notice about this position is that this knight is usually going to get dominated by a pawn on c6. And then, yeah, this knight is just generally misplaced. But one of the good things about white's position is that they actually have a big lead on development, and sometimes they can capitalize that into a win. But instead of that, my opponent went for knight f3, I went knight d7, and here my opponent made a move which, to many newer players, is probably looking nonsensical. The move was rook g1. And so rook g1 has a really, really cool idea. The idea is just to go g4, g5, and black is not developed enough to punish you by breaking things up in the center. And so rook g1 is a really, really modern try and probably one of the best moves in this position. So the reason why rook g1 is played here is because previously Shirov brought this idea of g4. And g4 used to be a really, really popular move. It's called the Shirov gambit. And after knight takes g4, rook g1, knight f6, for example, the line goes bishop c4, h6 to prevent knight g5, and okay, yada, yada, yada. The line goes on and on. White has good win rates here, but okay, black is up a pawn. But as of late, black has actually been scoring a lot of wins here because, okay, black is just up a pawn. Now, one of the lines against the Shirov gambit is this move h6, in which case they go rook g1, and then, okay, we get a game. So what if you played the Shirov gambit, but you avoided the best line for black, which is to take the pawn? And that's the logic behind rook g1, which is one of the best moves. Now, before the game, I had not checked this, but I had seen games here previously, so I wasn't completely surprised. But it took me a few moments to recollect what my prep, I guess, was, or what happened in the games I saw earlier. So in the game I saw earlier, h6 was played, and that's what I played. My opponent played g4, and now this move c6. c6 is very multi-purpose. You're going to look for d5. You're going to look for queen a5, queen b6 ideas. You prevent the knight from coming in. And yeah, just a very, very multi-purpose move. And here, my opponent ended up making what might be a slight inaccuracy. Now, it doesn't actually make a big difference, I don't think. For example, the best move here, according to the engine, is bishop e3. In which case, okay, the moves here are queen a5, queen d2, and then b5. And then, okay, the position gets really, really intense. Actually, the engine gives like plus 0.3, plus 0.4 here. But instead, my opponent went h4, immediately asking a question, being like, okay, I'm going to play g5. What are you going to do about it? And this I was familiar with. So here, once I saw this position, I was like, okay, this is the exact position I saw in that game. And we're going to look at that game in a little bit. So here I took on d4. It's pretty much the only move. If your opponent attacks on the flank, you have to break in the center. And here, I only knew one move. Well, I kind of knew both moves, but I knew that if queen takes d4, this was slightly inaccurate because of queen b6. And then here, if we trade queens, then white has all these weaknesses. So ideally, you don't want to trade queens, but okay, the best move is to go bishop e3 and then takes, and here black is completely equal. So they shouldn't take with the queen. Instead, they should take with the knight. And now here, I remembered the move was knight e5, attacking the pawn here. Now, if bishop e2, I calculated correctly. Okay, I have d5. Then after takes here, I thought I was better here. It turns out white is very, very, very slightly better. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Why are there pawns on g4 here? Why is there rook on g1? The center is open. So if you're attacking on the flank, usually you need a closed center, as is typical of the philidor. Okay, but instead of that, my opponent doesn't have to go for bishop e2. What I was worried about is g5. And this is where I was struggling to see. So obviously we takes, and now we have to go knight g4. And here, my opponent, excuse me, has this move bishop e2. And this is what I couldn't really see what to do here. Now, in the game I saw, this is between Mike Ivanov and R. Bergstrom. Now, I've actually played Mike Ivanov before. He actually gave me that idea in the French, e6, d5, and e5. He's the one who actually originally beat me with that. But here, Bergstrom, I guess, played here queen b6, and then after a4, the game got extremely wild. Here, black ended up winning 2 pawns. And then I won't go over the rest of this game, but somehow black managed to lose this after white got really, really active with the rook coming over and the queen coming in. Okay, but instead of that, that's after knight d5. The best move here, instead of queen b6, is actually knight h2, which is ridiculous to me. After f4, then now you have to go queen b6, and now if takes, that you have this nice pin, so they can't take. So then they might have to go like king f2, and then knight e g4, and king g2, and then you have to play this move g6 to go here. Look at these knights. Look at this rook. I mean, okay, this is really inhuman. I didn't see knight h2 at all. I didn't even see queen b6. I got to this position. I thought I was just lost. My plan was to go rook h4, but then I saw f4. So that was the end of that line. And so then I was like, okay, I can't do that. So what else can I do? I have to go knight c5. And here I saw some really nice ideas. I saw, okay, if f3, I have knight g4. And then if f takes g4, queen takes h4. Okay, after king d2, I at least have a draw, check. And then he has no better move than to go here. And then, okay, it's a draw. But even further, I thought, okay, maybe I can actually just try to win this with bishop g5 coming. And yeah, here the engine confirms what I was thinking, which is that, okay, I'm slightly worse here, but okay, I have chances. So yeah, that was my plan there. And then, okay, if they go queen here, then I immediately have queen e7, and there's just no way to defend this pawn. If they go bishop d3, then I have d5. So I would win a pawn. Now, apparently you can sack the pawn here, but okay, alas. Then my opponent went queen e2. And then, okay, queen e2, I sort of saw, but I underestimated the move because it's really difficult to find a move for white here. For black. Next move from white is going to be g5, and I just didn't know what to do. Now here, for a long time, I considered this move knight e6. This is what I was almost about to play, but after bishop e3, I couldn't find a move here. My plan was to go like knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, something like knight d7, but again, after g5, it just looks so unpleasant. And yeah, it's no good. Now, apparently the best move here, and I think if I found this move, then it would have been a very, very crazy game, but queen b6 is definitely the best move. Now here, if g5 takes knight fd7, ideas like knight e5 come into play, bishop e7, and for example, it's just really difficult to develop the bishop. You can't go bishop e3 because you just lose that. So I don't know, if you play a move like knight b3, maybe I go a5 looking for a4, and again, it's just very difficult to defend, to develop this bishop. So yeah, this would have been an interesting move here. Maybe the best move is immediately knight b3, and after here just knight takes c5 here, and then g5, and here it's maybe +1. So already this knight c5 move is just really not great for white. But instead of that, I decided to throw caution to the wind, and I calculated a long line. I see that, okay, maybe I'm not losing, so let's just go for it, and I go for d5. When d5, I guess, uses the principle that if they're attacking on the flank, break in the center, but it allows the queen to check the king with tempo. And I think many players after the game told me that this was a terrible move, and in fact, it was a terrible move. Now, I'm not completely mad at playing it because it just made the game absolutely crazy. And some of the lines I honestly just lucked out into that they are working here. So, okay, so here my original plan was that on g5, I will take, and then I'll take, and then I'll play e takes here. And then, for example, after g takes, I have queen takes. And after bishop f3, I have queen f6, and then okay, I'm doing fine. For example, here, knight takes here, I have queen takes b2 here, and then after king f8, I'm threatening this, and I'm threatening the knight, and then after here, I mean, okay, I didn't see knight b3 actually. Now, apparently the engine says this is not that bad for black, after bishop f5. Now, okay, this is just honestly beyond me. I guess I'm going to get a third pawn for the piece, but okay, I saw that, and I was like, okay, I have queen b2. I didn't see knight b3 even. I guess I got lucky in this position. Maybe I have bishop e6 right away, knight b3, and then castles queenside. Maybe I saw something like this. I don't think I did. I think I sort of just lucked into that. So I was like, okay, if he does that, I can take, and then take here. Here, my opponent pointed out that after takes, I was originally worried about this because of f3, but here I have this ridiculous move, knight e6, and then after takes, I have a ridiculous move, knight c3. Now, this is absolutely insane, because if takes, then I have takes here, and then here, black is winning, because I'm just up a pawn. And then if they play a move like knight g7 with a double check, then I have king d7, and somehow I'm I'm doing well here. So yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. Instead of that, what my opponent had to play was g5, takes, and now he takes d5. After bishop e7, now they can take with the bishop. And notice that if I take back, they can just castle, and I have this weak diagonal here. I have this isolated pawn. I can't castle my king. The rook is nicely placed to prevent me from castling on the queen side, and here it's like plus 1.5. I should have been losing. So that's maybe what my opponent should have done. Very difficult. My opponent ended up going here, in which case now I play bishop e7. Now they can't take this one because they're pinned. And okay, now the bishop is nice here. And here, I think my opponent and I both underestimated just developing here and not looking for anything concrete. After takes here, I was just like, okay, you can't castle because I go here. From beyond, from when I played d5, I was just like, okay, if he ended up going knight f5, but if he goes bishop e3, I was just like, okay, takes. He can't castle. I mean, what does he do? But here I completely overlooked bishop g2, and then after queen e5, now he castles, and yeah, this position is +2. So I'm just lost here, and it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, all his pieces are developed. I have 2 pieces developed. My king is still in the center. My king can't go to the king side because it gets attacked like this. I don't have enough time to go to the queen side. For example, if I go bishop e6, then immediately I lose after knight c6. So I just don't have any moves. And if I go like bishop d7, okay, f4, queen c7, and knight c6, immediately I lose again, right? Because he's threatening takes here. So yeah, I would have been completely lost if that happened. Thankfully for me, my opponent played knight f5, which already makes the game even crazier. So already I think the game is wild. And when the game is wild, anything can pretty much happen. Takes. Knight takes d5, and here I was expecting my opponent to go f6, and after knight takes f6, now go rook takes g7. And the idea is just that there's no knight c3. And here I was trying to evaluate this position after rook e6, rook g3, I guess queen b6. I thought it was slightly worse because I don't have the bishop pair. Turns out here I'm slightly better. Yeah, so I misevaluated this position as well. But instead my opponent played rook g7, which during the game I knew, I was like, this has to be a mistake, because then you just allow me to double your pawns. And I thought I'm probably getting free throw development with like something like this and castles. But here, I spent a long time calculating king f8. I was like, okay, if rook g3, then maybe I'm doing fine after bishop takes h4. But then here, my opponent actually just has a winning move. Take a few seconds to see if you can find it. It's not overly difficult. Takes, queen g4. And then here, I just have no moves. If I go king up, then he gives a checkmate. If I go king back, then he gives check. And then, okay, if I go here, then he can even go with this check. Or, okay, sorry. First he has to go here and then here. And there's just no way to defend. And then, yeah, if I move my king over, then he just goes check. And again, there's no way to defend. And then there was some, oh yeah, there was, this is the last thing to know. King e8, he just has this move, rook d1. And now he's threatening all sorts of mates here, and I just have to give up my queen. And I would just be dead lost. So, yeah, I saw that. Rook takes f7, I just lose. So instead of that, I went for queen d6, noticing that, okay, I probably have to prevent this move f6. And I want to castle queenside. And here I should have gone queen a5. After bishop d2 castles, he can't take the bishop because then I go rook e8 and I win it. Here I just sort of missed that I from afar, I just misevaluated this position. I didn't really miss it. I saw this position, but yeah, I just completely misevaluated. I thought he could just castle easily, but yeah, he can't even castle here because queen takes a2. So I just completely misevaluated that, and I thought, okay, maybe queen d6 is a little bit safer. My opponent develops a piece, and now I castle queenside. And yeah, if they ever went here, I thought I'd go bishop f6, and here I thought the position was really nice for me. So instead of that, they went rook d1, the best move. And yeah, here I thought a little bit about the endgame, but it's no good because I'm just down a pawn, so I went queen f6, and now they go bishop d4. And I don't really have a move. If I go here, then they go rook f7 with a double attack on this and this. So like if I go here, or no, sorry, rook g4 immediately wins the exchange. Yeah. And so I can't go there, so I had to do rook takes d4. And here, I think both me and my opponent miscalculated something. And it would have made my opponent lucky, but it's possibly would have also made me lucky because it's possible I would have just blundered the next move. So here, both me and my opponent thought that after c takes d4, that would play knight a4. The idea is to go bishop b4 check and then take the rook. Notice that you can't take the rook right away, probably just because of queen takes e7, and then the knight has no good squares. And the pawns are undoubled. They're up a pawn. It's very nice for them. They have f6, bishop h3 as an idea as well. So yeah, so after, yeah, they ended up going rook takes. But after here, bishop a4, here they have this really nice move, bishop h3. I think this was pointed out by somebody who's spectating the game after. Really, really nice move. And then if I take here, then there's f6. And yeah, during the game I saw this, and I was going to go rook here. And then I thought, okay, they move back, then they just lose, right? But no, here they have king f1 getting out of the way. And again, if here they still have this f6 move. This is what I sort of just missed. I forgot it was not just attacking the bishop. Yeah, and I think my opponent also missed that. Now here actually I do have a winning move, which is rook e8 right away, threatening this. Now if the same idea with bishop h3, then I can go knight d7. Don't have to go to a4, and now I'm blocking the check. Now bishop b4 is just winning, and if kick f1, then I would win the game. So they don't have to go bishop e3. They can just go rook back to g3. And then you have really nice move knight d3 here, and then bishop b4. Instead of that, they should go rook d takes, and after bishop b4, for example, c3 takes, bishop takes, and then, okay, we have a queen versus two rooks. Very, very interesting position. So yeah, this could have also been played, but okay, it's not ideal. Instead, rook takes was played, which is the better move. Now here I have to take. I really just don't have another move. Otherwise, I'm down the exchange. Now I have to go queen f8, defending the knight on c5, also offering the trade of queens. And here I was really worried about here. I was just going to go here, and then after bishop c4 takes, I was just going to play the position down a pawn, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to fight for a draw. I played a really bad opening, and maybe I should have been lost out of the opening, but okay, somehow I got to a position where I can fight for a draw. I was happy. But then my opponent went queen d6, and I was like, okay, never mind, no draw. Because now I think I'm better. After takes, rook e8, bishop e2, knight e4, I was like, okay, your structure is really bad. My king is really, really nice here. Your pieces are misplaced. My pieces are all better than yours. And now my opponent went king f1. Now here I think my opponent really had to go for this move, rook e3. My plan was to go king d7, bishop c4, knight d6. And then here I just didn't really see how I win this pawn. After like bishop d3. This is just a sample line. But apparently here, this is how I might try to win this position. And then eventually go c5, c4 and win this pawn. And then once this pawn falls, all the pawn falls. But here white does have some accurate defense. That's just if white does nothing. So even though I'm down a pawn there, apparently black has good winning chances. Okay, but I just didn't see that. I thought this position is probably a draw, but I thought maybe I'm slightly better because the structure is so bad and my king has this really nice squares. But instead of that, my opponent went king f1, which I thought was just a mistake because I can go knight d6. And now here my opponent sacks the pawn. I expected rook f3. But in this case, actually, it just doesn't even work because then I just win this pawn, which is maybe more important. I didn't see that. I think my plan was to go rook e5, and then after bishop d3, I guess, yeah, I just can always go rook a5, so I just didn't see that idea at all. But instead, my opponent went rook d4, which is the best move. They're going for activity. Now they go bishop h5. I go rook e7. Now I go c5, preventing c4, and now I go f5. And now the rook is in jail because it can't go anywhere. My opponent goes bishop d5. Here I went king b6. I thought maybe I go king a5 and stuff. But yeah, king a5 is just the wrong idea. The king doesn't need to go f5 because of rook b3. So now my opponent went back to f3, and I thought, okay, oh, whoopsie. That was an action. And now instead of king a5, I went king d7, which is correct. I need to bring my king into the center. My opponent goes bishop d5 again, and now I go b5. Now they can't take because I go here, and after they move the bishop away, this is actually the losing move, but instead they should have gone rook f3, in which case I don't think the position is so obvious. Like if I go b4, okay, I was wrong. I guess they can go rook g3 and rook g7, but I was thinking they could just go c3, and then once they get rid of this doubled pawn, then it's not so obvious. But knight e4, what? Okay, I mean this is a little bit of engine-y stuff, but instead of that, yeah, they went for this move bishop g8. Now I go b4. Now I was really, really happy with my position because now I have always the chance of creating this passer if I ever win this pawn on a2, and there's really no way to defend the pawn on a2. Bishop d5, I went knight e4, threatening knight c3, also threatening knight d2 ideas. Bishop f7, and now here really I think I could just go knight c3. I'm not really sure why I didn't go for this. I was worried about bishop g6, but now I can just go king e6, which, okay, I didn't see at all. And if they go back, then I just take, go here, and then just start pushing the pawn. After here, just go king c7 and just start pushing the pawn, and it's just an easy win. But okay, that's win number one that I missed. Instead I went king e7, bishop g6, and then here again I hallucinated. I hallucinated that after here he had bishop takes f5. Idea being that if takes, then he can take here and he's drawing. But here again I have knight d2. This is another win that I missed. So after king f6, he would just have to go here, and then again I can go for knight c3 and he just lost. Or here, maybe even better, is here and then offering the trade of rooks. Okay, not the trade of rooks. Okay, the rook is just trapped. That's the whole idea. Okay, h5 and the rook is just trapped. The rook can't go anywhere. And neither can the king. Wow, okay. So, white is in zugzwang here. They can't move the rook. They can't do anything with the king. nothing can approach, and I just go a4, a5, a6, and then bring the knight to c3. That's funny. And they can only move the bishop. So I guess that's another win that I missed, but that was a little bit more difficult. But yeah, it was really bad to not see knight d2 here. So instead I went knight d6, which is obviously very passive. Now my opponent went bishop h7, but now I go king f6. It's not the worst position in the world. My opponent goes h5, and now I go rook e4, and now, okay, if he trades, he's just dead loss. I go king e5, and I take here. So he goes rook f3, I go rook c4, rook d3, and again here I miss another easy win, which is rook e5. Now, to put some perspective here, I think both me and my opponent here are playing with 30 seconds, so we really don't have any time. The time control was 1 hour. So to be a little bit fair to us, yeah, we didn't really have any time, but okay. Here, after king e5, I was worried about rook e3, but here I have knight e4. And then after f3, I have rook c3, which I didn't see. Here, I didn't even see king f4, which is another easily winning move. I just didn't see either of these. And I thought, okay, I can't block with the knight. And then I was also thinking that if I go king d4, then he has rook e6, and I'm not even winning. So yeah, another win that I missed. Instead, I went knight f7, which is just like, why would you go knight f7? Like, your knight wants to pick up these pawns over here. My opponent went rook d7, and then here, again, I blundered. Here, just take the pawn, and then once he takes the pawn, just go knight g5, attacking the bishop, and it's an easy win. If bishop g6, for example, the king comes in, the c pawn pushes, as you can see by the arrows, and yeah, it's another easy win. And instead of that, I went a5, which is now enough of a blunder to give my opponent equality. And I think both me and my opponent actually still thought I was winning, but yeah, my opponent went bishop g8, and I just completely did not see bishop g8 whatsoever. Did not see this move. And here I'm still doing fine, actually. I have this move knight e5 attacking the rook, because notice that he was attacking my rook from behind. Rook d6, king e7, attacking the rook again, rook e6, and now king f8. This is the move that I missed. And then here I would have still been winning. But instead of that, my opponent had this move, rook takes h6, and now after rook c2, we're in a race, but okay, white is seemingly actually doing pretty well in this race with the pawn pretty close to promoting. So instead of that, I blundered again. I didn't see king f8 at all, and I played rook c2, and now I'm actually losing. Though it's very difficult. King g5, and now here my opponent actually, it's not that difficult. Here my opponent had an easy win. After king g5, the last chance for my opponent to easily win the game, this was my opponent's big miss, was rook takes f5, and after takes bishop f7, takes here. This is just this is not so difficult to win, I don't think, because okay, you have. It may not be the easiest win in the world, but okay, it should be pretty cleanly winning. Here's c4, f4, king g4, king e3, and now bishop d1 as a threat. And white should be pretty handily winning here. But yeah, my opponent missed that, thankfully for me, when bishop h7, which is more human. And now I took here. Here I really should have taken here. But after here, you have to find king g4. And now that it looks like there's all sorts of discoveries, like f3, I don't know, here. But no, none of this works. And then this is a draw, because I can just trade the pawn. So yeah, I missed that too. And I went rook takes a2. And then here I was just like, okay, I'm going to lose this game probably. I went b3, a4. Again, we have 30 seconds each here. King f4, here, king g4. Yeah, king g4 again was a really big blunder. I should have played this move rook a1. We're going to see why. It ended up transposing, but my opponent didn't have to. I went king g4. Here my opponent should have gone bishop e8. Or sorry, they should have gone rook check here, now bishop e8. But instead they went bishop f7, giving me a chance to draw here. Now, the draw is really nice. Now here I have king here. Now originally my idea on bishop e8 was to go b2. But here they have bishop f7 attacking the rook, and now the rook has to leave defensive b2, and then I just lose the b2 pawn and lose the game. So bishop e8 was an easy win here. I don't have a move anymore. Instead of that, after bishop f7, now I have king f6. And now if they try that same thing, like with bishop e8, b2, they don't have bishop f7 anymore. Now this is just a dead draw. And here after a3, they have to even be careful of losing. But it is still a draw. But instead of that, I missed that. I went king f1. And now they went bishop e8. But now it's a draw. With the rook on a1, it's a draw instead of the rook on a2. Because I have this move a3, rook takes b3, and a2. And I'm threatening rook g1, king g1, and then promotes to a queen. So they can't allow that. They have to go rook a3. And now I go rook e1, attacking the bishop and getting rid of the pawn. And I'm only down a pawn in the rook endgame. This is a pretty handily drawn position. And yeah, from here I was able to draw. My opponent gave a few checks. Got their pawn up a little bit. This is probably maybe their best chance. King takes h5. I mean, it's possible that instead of moving the pawn up, they could have just taken here, and then given this check. And then, okay, it's still a draw. I think I would have pretty easily drawn this. For example, I can go like check and then rook g5 even. There's really no way to push. Maybe this is their best option. They cut my king off. Maybe it's hard, but I just give checks from the side. And yeah, maybe their one last trick is after check here, check, rook g7. Okay, I could lose like this. And then if I go rook a6, maybe they have rook g6. But okay, this is still even a draw after here. And then they have to just go rook g7 back. So yeah, they don't even have that. So they actually just don't have anything. I think. Yeah, my opponent. Rook a6. Yeah. I think a spectator also pointed out that rook f8 was also drawing here pretty easily, which is accurate. But I just played rook a6, preventing the pawn from pushing, and yeah, they don't have a move. And then okay, somewhere here we offered a draw, and it was a draw. So yeah, that's in today's video, guys. Extremely crazy game. I mean, I was completely winning. I mean, I was completely lost from the opening. Then I fought back. Then I was completely winning, and then my opponent fought back, and then he was completely winning, and then okay, the game ended in a draw. So I think, yeah, definitely a really, really wild game. I mean, I was really tired after this game because it was just extremely wild, and half the game being wild was probably in part of the time control. I mean, the last section of the game, both me and my opponent had like pretty much no time on the clock to think about any of our moves, and okay, obviously we're gonna blunder every single move if we just have no time. So yeah, crazy game. I think the philidor is definitely very, very wild opening, and I think that even though it, sometimes necessitates closed positions, if your opponent tries to attack you right away, you can make the game insane. And maybe you can get away with moves like d5 and just making tactical games and having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's in today's video, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.